Hello, creepy crawlies. And oh my gosh, it's 2013. And I just want to look back at 2022 and go, that's a wrap. By the way, do you love this? This is awesome. Okay, so we have a fun show tonight. Sadly, we're not really sure what we're talking about. Well, some of us are not sure what we're talking about. Can we go ahead and bring in Lauren? And
Hello.
hello. And let's go ahead and bring in Magda too. I understand Kat's having some issues. So we're going to try to get the revised link to her immediately. She is backstage, but it is not working properly. So bear with us just a moment. Okay, first of all, it's been a couple of weeks.
Aye.
Um, how has everything gone for the holiday break um,
It's been, there's no other word than just
Mm,
exhaustingly busy. How about that?
aye.
Yeah.
Not upset that the holidays are over. It was a knackering experience, but it's lovely at the same time. Here's to a new year.
Oh my gosh, I think I just said 2013. Somebody just pointed that out to me instead of 2023. How? I think I'd lost 10 years somewhere along the way. But here is to a great new year, 2023,
Oh.
and we're excited about it because we've been planning. We've got some fun shows coming up. We've got some fun topics coming up, and we are just absolutely enjoying life. Um,
I am attempting to email the correct links and things to our other
oh,
co-hosts. So if I'm
perfect.
quiet and staring down, please
Nope.
ignore me.
Nope. You know what? I'm absolutely convinced if you are not doing a live broadcast without some sort of technical difficulties,
Mhm.
especially when you have multiple people online that are participating, it's like it nothing ever goes quite smoothly in the way that it should. Never ever. Okay, so we can't get through the beginning of this show before we address the topic and not talk about the new trailer that was just dropped movie wise. um I am so excited, but have okay, so thoughts, everybody who's watching the Renfield, is that's okay. I have a
you're, you're wordless. You're just like hand
I know,
movements,
like
and
I'm
everyone
just like
listening is like, "What is going on?"
I know, just gonna rub my hands together and be all like creepy. I have this weird thing about Nicolas Cage. I don't want to say it's like an attraction to Nicolas Cage because it's like I'm not looking at him going, yeah, he's good looking. I mean, not that he's a bad looking guy, because I mean it's Nicolas Cage, but I'm just like there's something about him and his awkwardness and his eccentricness that I just absolutely love. And seeing him as Dracula in this new
Mhm.
movie Renfield. I'm dying for this. Okay, thoughts. Y'all go.
I actually just watched it because I hadn't yet, and then you were like, well, "I want to talk about this before the show," so I was like, "Crap, Ren trailer." So literally just got done watching it. It had me like laugh out loud, literally cackling throughout it. It was very entertaining, and it seems like it's gonna have some good horror, but it seems like it's gonna have a lot of good comedy, and I'm excited.
I agree. That was actually one of the things. Kat, in case you're catching up, we're talking about the new trailer that dropped for the movie Renfield, where Nicolas Cage is playing Dracula. Um, so, so I'm personally very excited about this. I'm going to move my microphone. I feel like I might be a little bit too far away from my microphone, but I'm going to move some things. Bear with me just a moment. But I'm so freaking excited about this movie. It just isn't funny. But also, I'm a huge fan of What We Do in the Shadows, and I do feel like
Mhm.
this is a love letter to that fan base.
I can see that.
Everything looks, yeah, it has that same color grading, that kind of, I think that's almost like a neon gel lighting, where everything is very blue and very red. And even if you look at the coloring on the titles, it is very much in the same vein. Hello, Keisha. Okay, so Magda, I'm dying to hear your thoughts on it because you were one of the first that chimed in talking about you were excited about this.
I like you, I don't know why, but I have such a thing for Nicolas Cage. It's not a crush. I don't necessarily find him attractive. There's just something adorable about him. So, example being, I loved Willy's Wonderland. That movie was bloody adorable. It was so funny. I had laughing all the way through. And finding out that the man as a person is apparently like a little closet goth, off in the corner. His house is all covered in black. He's got a pet raven. How can you not love this man? He's adorable. One of my favorite quotes from him was when he did Moonstruck with Cher. She had originally said that she had seen him in a movie previously, and it was like watching a slow motion car wreck. And he said that was the most wonderful compliment he'd ever gotten. He couldn't wait to work with her after that.
Nice.
That actually sums up a lot of his movies. It's like you go into a Nicolas Cage movie knowing that it is not going to like set the new standard for acting, but even if he doesn't say a word through the entire movie, such as Willy's Wonderland, it's still going to be fabulous. Kat, have you had a chance to watch the preview for that?
Honestly, I haven't. I have not had a chance to slow down this whole day to see it. So I'll check it out though.
Well, I know that I've seen like several photos of him on Facebook where he's like in the full Dracula vampire attire, and people were actually kind of making fun of it and talking about him looking really strange. And I'm like, no, this is a character, and I have a feeling I know what this is. And I just immediately, I'm just like, I'm in love with this. This is probably going to be my new favorite movie of all time.
Yep.
So, which, by the way, I just recently watched Willy's Wonderland and loved it. It was, if you haven't seen it, it is so much fun.
So good. For you, like millennial and older people who remember the old school Chuck E. Cheese, where they had the animatronics still, and they had all of that. Yes, it is very nostalgia-rific.
And those who are a fan of the Five Nights at Freddy's games.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Also, this is a must see.
Yes, my youngest child was a huge Five Nights at Freddy's, and as soon as she heard that they were getting ready to release a live action version that was going to be rated R, all of a sudden she's like, "Ooh!" So she's now interested again, and so I'm like, "Yeah, you need to watch this. I think that you'll enjoy it." But speaking of Chuck E. Cheese, I was just there yesterday.
Their pizza's surprisingly great nowadays.
I know, especially considering the conspiracy that went around a couple of years ago about them reusing pizza. And if you ever get pizza and it's like in different shapes, they've like trimmed bite marks off. Oh yeah, it's kind of gross. But
I don't believe that.
Oh, you have to look it up. It's hilarious. And for the longest time, they actually kind of went through like a rebranding, I do believe. And I think that was like back in 2017, they did a rebranding where they were like, this is our pizza. Everything's fresh. So I kind of feel like it did help. But so now they no longer have these awesome animatronic characters. Like there is the Chucky guy there's Chuck E. Cheese that comes out, and of course, but it's the little guy in the costume and everything, but it's not, more of a furry. He's more of a furry now versus a animatronic. But I mean, but I just felt so ripped off. I'm like, where are my animatronics? This is wrong. I want to be traumatized, and I want my kids and grandchildren to be traumatized.
Like a whole band. I remember like back in the day, there was like that big gorilla thing, I think, playing the guitar or drums. It was just like they had some creepy looking characters.
Okay, so you can't blame me for this because I was just there and we were in the party tables are right in front of the character names. His name is Mr. Munch. I saw that because we were trying to figure out what the hell is that thing. So,
nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Are we ready? Are we digging in?
So I do want to go ahead and first of all say that we do not have an audience participation question because we weren't really sure what to put out there for the question. However,
I gave them nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Ideas. None.
So this is going to be strictly a reactionary, but please, we want your comments and reactions to this too. And before we get into this, I think we probably need to flash up our warning disclaimer.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Take it, Magda.
Warning, this show may contain strong language or disturbing topics which may be unsuitable for children, and unusual humor which may be unsuitable for adults.
Yes.
I think we're all unsuitable for adults.
I'd say that fits as well.
To be adults, I think.
Can I- Before we jump into this, can I make a comment? How did I get surrounded by redheads and now I am officially black and white? How am I paler than Magda? Something's not right with my camera. Okay, all right. I'm sorry. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead. All right.
All right.
Here we go.
Since this show started, I have wanted to cover a topic ever since I heard what the show was going to be called. We are the Ice Cream Queens. There's been a particular case I have been wanting to cover. I even wore my ice cream earrings today in homage to it. So let me go ahead and pull up my screen here. Today we're going to be discussing Estebaliz Carranza, also known as the Ice Cream Killer. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with this case at all. Let me try and get my thing set up here so I can see everyone at the same time. Give me 2 seconds here. Sorry. Where did my notes go? There we go. All right. Estebaliz Carranza was born September 6th, 1978 in Mexico City. When she was 5 years old, her family moved to Spain due to issues between her father and the Mexican government. Her father was a journalist/political commentator, and he was labeled an activist, causing their home to be raided, pushing them towards the move. Estebaliz's mother fell pregnant with a little boy, delighting Esty, who constantly dreamed of getting married and having children of her own. Like to an extreme degree. She was at one point 10 years old being like, Mommy, when can I get married? Can I get married and have babies now? So it was always a dream. Living in Spain was a lot more expensive than where they were from. And Esty's father had to work constantly from home. Esty remembers her youth pretty much as trying to be as quiet as possible to quote unquote, not exist. At 17, while at university in Barcelona, Estebaliz began her first serious relationship. It said that he thought of her like property and treated her that way. They dated for 5 years. When she opened up about her wishes to get married and have children one day, he shortly broke up with her, saying that he wasn't ready for a serious relationship.
5 years? And
5
not
years.
Okay.
Yeah. Esty found herself daydreaming of cutting the brakes on his car after that.
I don't think I blame her. Okay. Not that I'm
Well,
promoting,
not a billion other fish in the sea. You got to cut the brakes on his car. Okay.
not that I'm promoting the domestic violences here, but you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still, she graduated with honors and landed a job in Munich, Germany as an au pair for the summer, having learned German in her youth and picking up the rest along the way. Estebaliz enjoyed living there enough that when it came time, she extended her visa, moving near Nuremberg, and landing a job there in an ice cream parlor. After a while, go.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, we got
Okay, can I jump in?
time out here.
Okay, hang on. Can we let's pop up the picture again just because I have to make a comment. The one of her in the graduation cap. Is it just me or does she remind you of Dee Barty a little bit? I think it's the blonde.
A little bit.
Sorry,
When
Dee.
she gets a little older, she's actually she looks like Dee when in her youth, but as she gets older, she slowly starts to resemble Kat. Which is
Not a bad person to resemble. Just say.
just a little.
Okay.
And so the whole time I was like, this is great.
So it's all good.
Keisha Acuff says, "Oh, she does."
Oh, she does.
All right. So after a while working in the ice cream parlor, she met a fridge salesman named Holger Holtz, who, though he was older, bared a striking resemblance to Esty's ex-boyfriend from when she was 17. He walked into the ice cream shop and she was smitten, and the two began the flirting. And
I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you say she graduated from college with honors and then she went to go
ice cream shop?
I'm following, but I'm not following.
Yeah, the whole college thing was pretty much just to kind of please her dad. It wasn't really anything she wanted. She was just really at that point trying to make her dad happy, and it never seemed like she could.
Well, also sometimes during the course of education, you get a degree that you find that the field is extremely, extremely competitive, that you cannot necessarily get a job within the field that you went into. So, I mean,
yeah,
things happen. We
that
understand.
happens a lot. I know a lot of people with that. That happened to them. So let's see here. He was 36 years old. He was 15 years the senior of Esty, who was 22 at the time. He asked her out and she accepted. And after a couple of weeks, she was accepting his proposal of marriage.
That seems rushed.
A wee bit. And you're,
Touch.
not the only one who thought that.
Do we know how many weeks?
It just, everything I read said a few weeks. So, and when I looked up, it was anywhere from like 3 to 5 weeks.
Oh, okay. Woohoo. All right.
Yeah. It was very, very sudden. Holger was a dedicated follower of Hare Krishna and told Esty that he did not believe in sex before marriage, which she thought was super romantic. And so they were shortly married. They married in 2002 with only a few of Holger's friends as guests and no family from either side in attendance, as neither families supported the wedding and believed the couple to have been rushing into their marriage. Along with the wedding came another move. They moved to Holger's hometown of Berlin, and Esty got a job waitressing.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Okay.
lots of moving. Move.
Yes.
I'm trying to make this turn down, and it's being done. All right. Sorry. Suddenly my scroll is not scrolling. Lovely. Quickly after saying their vows, the happiness began to fade. Esty claims that Holger was physically and emotionally manipulative and abusive, 1 minute degrading her physical appearance and telling her she was unattractive, the next showering with love and compliments. He would hold all of Esty's earnings, and when she mentioned wanting to go back to Spain, he held her passport from her as well. Yeah.
Was that her?
That was her. That was her a little young. I think that was like right before Holger. Maybe that was in the like 17 to 22 time.
I was going to say, he was telling the girl that looked like she could have been on Baywatch, and this is him.
That is
the
him.
girl.
And I could not find one photo of him that was not blurred out. There were a couple that I was like, that might be him, but I didn't want to put someone else's face up there and be like, here's our victim.
Mistaken identity. Like, oops, we're sorry.
Yeah, I just went with the one that everyone else had obviously been like, this is the guy, blurred face guy.
I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
She looks like she could have been a cast member of Baywatch.
Yeah.
She's fit.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see here. Still, Esty tried to talk him into having a family, though Holger wanted to wait, feeling like that he was not ready for that responsibility. Estibaliz got another job working in another ice cream shop, and Holger selling refrigerators until he lost his job, unable to find another one for some time. Esty's new boss at the new ice cream shop also took to acting abusively toward her. He was well known to humiliate her purposefully and to deny her basic human functions like bathroom breaks.
Ew.
Yeah, so she's getting it from like everywhere. She's getting crap dealt at home, crap at work. At this time, Esty fantasized and also researched how to burn the business to the ground.
Oh,
yeah.
Haven't we all done that?
Healthy coping mechanism.
Was this before Google where you had to check that out at the library? Like,
well, that was like 2000. No, so the Google was around because the next upcoming is 2005. Holger came up with the brilliant idea of moving to Vienna and opening their own ice cream parlor, which is the one that keeps popping up here every time I say ice cream parlor. And that is their ice cream parlor that they owned together. He used the knowledge. Yeah, he used the knowledge Esty always wanted to go to Vienna and was tempting her with the promise of, oh, well, once we get there, we'll settle down, we'll have this ice cream thing, and we'll have the family that you've always wanted. We can have kids. So Esty was hesitant at first with the move, but enthusiastically was agreeing once the idea of having children came forward. They quickly moved into an apartment close by their new ice cream parlor named, help me here,
the Schlickeria. Okay.
I believe I looked it up like 10 times.
Schlickeria?
Schlickeria. Yes, that's the I Googled that thing like 10 times and listened to other podcasts like, how do they pronounce it? How do they pronounce? So hopefully that is the correct pronunciation. The business did well enough in the first opening months, but as time went by, it became evident that Esty was doing the majority of the work while Holger hung
Okay.
back. What
Sorry.
was the comment?
Go back. I know this photo. This is okay. So miles out right here. I can see the murder vibe buildings. The murder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. This is we'll get detailed. This
Oh,
is going to
boy.
get a little detailed. And so if you don't like the true crime, y'all, this might not be the one for you. If you like the true crime, keep listening.
We're listening.
All right, so Esty was doing the majority of the work while Holger hung back at home, relaxed, and spent the money from the ice cream shop on his gun collection. It was a hobby that he had recently become a love for him, along with his first-person shooter games. That's what he did. Esty tried.
That's
Go
not
ahead.
a red flag at all, is it?
No. No.
With the shooter games.
With the gun collection.
I mean, I don't mind the gun collection so much. I don't even
No.
mind the shooter games so much. It's the I'm not doing anything else but this. You go make the money so I can do this. That's the part that I'm like,
Right.
I mean, not to.
He's got it made though. He could sit back and chill on the sofa and pick his up and play video games all
The
day.
girl is giggling ways to burn things down and all such. And
oh yeah.
This
We're
is
gonna
like-
burn the house.
Checking out books from the library, like how to kill my.
Is there a book called How to Kill My Husband?
There is there was a short story on how to kill your husband. The lady who wrote its husband mysteriously died, and there was this whole like case about did she do it. We can cover that one in a separate episode if you want.
Oh,
There is
yes.
that is its own
Right.
whole thing.
Yes.
There's no mystery. We've already solved that case. We know who did it.
I am not okay, and not to like cause any kind of controversy here. I mean, we're in the South. I don't mind that people have guns. We know they exist and everything, but when you start introducing the whole first person shooter game mixed in with that person that loves to have a small arsenal in the house, I kind of feel like that's a bit of a red flag.
I could see that.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't know. Someone said How to Off Your Husband by Carol Baskin. Oh,
She has a middle
right.
name,
Where
I hear.
were we? We were on first
was her
person
middle
shooter
name?
games. Esty tried to move toward having the family and children that she was promised with the move, but Holger seemed always to come up with excuses to hold off, eventually abstaining from sex altogether, telling Esty that because of his religious views, he believed that sex should only be done to procreate, and also forcing Esty to join Hare Krishna.
Hari Krishna.
Hare Krishna? I cannot say.
Hari Krishna.
Hari Krishna. Thank you. I Googled that one too, and everyone kept telling me different things on that one.
Hari Krishna.
Thank you. I'm just going to have you say it for me. It's spelled hair. Okay. Hari Krishna. Thank you. The couple seemed to grow farther apart as Esty's resentment grew towards her husband's lack of help with the business and constant holdup and excuses on not having the family that she so desperately wanted. After a while, in 2007, Esty found a new love interest. Enter Manfred Hinterberger. He was
That's a name.
That is a name, yes.
Okay, Manfred, Manifred.
No, Manfred. Man and then Fred. Manfred.
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 Okay.
Hinterberger.
Okay.
He was a 48-year-old ice cream salesman. He also happened to be 15 years older than Esty, and he swept Estebliz off her feet in almost the exact same manner that her husband had. Manfred, fully knowing that Esty was already married, took a chance and asked her out anyway. Rather conveniently for Manfred, or inconveniently, depending on how you look at it, Esty and Holger had a fight that same day, so Esty was like, yeah, and met him later for drinks. Their affair shortly followed, the couple meeting secretly at wine bars and beer gardens, finally providing Esty the romantic Vienna she had formerly dreamed of before her move there with Holger. On one of their outings, they happened upon an ice cream shop regular named Sasha, who immediately knew what was going on. Though Sasha never said anything about it, the couple's anxiety about getting caught grew.
Oh, Sasha.
Sasha, yes. That's a great name. I like that name.
I do.
Manfred begged.
Sasha. What was the ice skater? Like the famous ice skater, Sasha Cohen, or
I don't know.
Sasha.
There's an actor, Sasha Baron Cohen.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah. There's a female, I think, who's a figure skater who has. I think it could. I don't know.
So, like, evidently, Sasha Baron Cohen, if I'm saying that wrong, I do apologize. Plays all of these really, really goofy roles, but he's very nice looking out in like not in character. He's like extremely nice.
He was in
Yeah.
Sweeney Todd. He was the shaving guy and the
Borat.
that-
Oh, he was the
Borat.
con
He was
artist
also
dude
Sweeney
in
Todd,
the musical where they kill people with
Yeah.
barbers.
Oh yeah,
Sweeney Todd.
yeah.
with Johnny Depp. He was in
Thank
that
you.
one.
Sweeney Todd.
Thank you.
Sweeney
Yes.
Okay.
All right. 1 second. I'm so
Hey.
hi, my daughter's bleeding. Can you give me 2 seconds?
Yes.
Thanks.
Well, you never know what's going to happen here, do we?
No.
I hope she's okay.
Yes.
Aye. Though would appear that this lady we are discussing does seem to have quite the obsession all the way around for ice cream.
Yes, and actually, I think he was in Les Mis. Oh, yes, he was actually the innkeeper, and I think he was the innkeeper, and Helena Bonham Carter was his wife in Les Mis.
He also did the voice of King Julian, the lemur.
You got to move it. That one. Okay.
Aye.
All right. Yeah, I haven't watched that lately.
Aye.
I totally have. So yes, actually. Oh, where did she go? She's like,
Oh dear.
oh, okay. There she is.
Here
Okay.
we are.
So
Hi.
actually, hey,
Oh, she's
so
all right?
even yeah,
She's okay.
okay, good.
Okay.
So yes, actually, if we'll pull up the last comment from Mr. Fish, because you were talking about that she has an attraction, or not an attraction, but an affinity for ice cream shops.
Ice cream. Oh,
She also has a type in
oh, she's a
men.
type.
Yeah. Yeah, very much a type in men.
Ice cream
All
is
right.
delicious,
Ice cream is delicious.
All right.
unless you're
So-
lactose intolerant, and then
Agreed.
And then it's fake ice cream.
sherbet.
All right, so Manfred begged Esty to divorce Holger. Oh. Holger, showering her with compliments, admiring the way she ran the shop. It was everything Estebliz had wanted, and after years of verbal abuse from her husband, she filed for divorce right away. Surprisingly, Holger agreed with the divorce and signed the papers. He did, however, disagree with her request for him to move out of the apartment and refused to leave. Esty believed that since she was the one pulling the weight at the ice cream shop, she deserved the location. Their disagreement on this issue caused many fights, but at least through the divorce, Estebliz was free to openly date Manfred. Esty-
Wait. We didn't slow that
Is
one down.
it-
So he didn't leave the house.
He would not leave the house.
He was paying all the bills and keeping his lifestyle up, and she let him stay. Oh God. Okay.
Is it ironic that we mentioned Sweeney Todd? I'll be quiet. Okay, go ahead.
I wouldn't rope Sweeney Todd up with this because she uses quite different techniques. Esty opened up to Manfred about how she wanted to settle down, have a family, but Manfred didn't seem to be as enthusiastic about the idea. He had already been previously married and had grown children of his own, so not too long after, he broke up with her.
Oh, okay. So she has
That
left her
husband.
husband,
Yep.
who is still living with her,
Yep.
I thought there was that.
and she's now broken up with Manfred.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to say
Yeah.
the name Manfred.
Manfred.
So Miles Out says, so it's a 2 scoop then.
Yes.
Keisha says her type old
You know,
ugly
it's all
guys.
about the personality, though. The guys can
can't-
be as ugly as they want to be.
Mm.
It's all
And
about
men with old ugly guys with commitment issues. Thank you, Keisha. I'm sorry, they
Mhm.
can't all be Nicolas Cage.
No,
Right.
her ex-husband didn't have a commitment issue. He still wants to stay in the house. He's committed to living with her.
He's committed to not being homeless.
Right.
He's
and her
committed
making
to
all the
free money.
Yeah.
There's that.
All right. April 27th. April 27th, 2008. Esty came home from a long day at the ice cream shop. Holger was sitting at his usual spot in front of the computer when she once again asked him to move out. According to Establiz, he reacted horribly to the request, demeaning her for hours, telling her that she was useless and would never be able to live on her own before turning his back on her to surf the internet again.
He's
Esty
gotta
walked-
go.
Esty walked over to the dining room table where Holger had laid out some of his gun collection. She picked up the Beretta 22 caliber, turned to him, shot him twice in the back of the head, moved closer, gave him one more shot in the temple, then laid the gun quietly back down on the table, grabbed her bag, and left to meet up with a recent new lover she had met online dating.
Goodbye,
Leaving
girl.
the
Oh God, she was pissed.
Earl had to die. No. Sorry.
So she left to stay with this internet lover, whoever that is, leaving the shot body of Holger sitting at the computer. She stayed there for the night and went straight to work the next day. After work, she went back home and quickly went to work trying to dispose of the body. She doused the body in schnapps and set it on fire, which apparently she was trying to cremate it inside of the apartment.
Was it
Oh.
flavored schnapps?
I don't know what flavored schnapps it was. I'm assuming some kind of flavored schnapps. So set it on fire, which didn't seem to cremate it. It just seemed to kind of make a lot of smoke. Did much else to get rid of the evidence.
Well, the thing is, it's like the body bleeds like in 24 hours. Like that blood pools and comes. Ew.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
why?
Okay, so how long
it
has
gets
he been
worse.
sitting? How long has he been sitting there now?
24 hours.
Okay, so 24 hours. Okay, so
24 hours.
We got the rigor mortis. We've
Yeah.
got the discoloration.
Mhm.
As you said, the body is probably. I don't know if it is oozing at this point.
No, but the blood has definitely come to settle
on
at the
the
bottom
bottom.
of it.
yeah. So yeah, but okay, and then now she's tried to set it on fire with peach schnapps. I'm going to say peach just because I hate peach schnapps.
Peach. Let's go with peach.
I have been sick on peach schnapps, and we're gonna say it's peach schnapps at this point.
Like
So-
bananas or something, not peach. No.
Nobody
So
likes
It's
peach
like
schnapps.
flambe.
I like peach schnapps.
I
Peach
like-
schnapps are great.
It's like the flambe from the banana. I'm over in banana for.
It's death by flambe. That's not-
Y'all, she's trying to caramelize them, okay? All right.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Apartment. Jesus.
Do we know
Alright,
if he
so,
had a pot pie at least for dinner?
God.
It's never going away, Kat. It's never
It's
going
never
away.
going away. All right, so she's lit it on fire. It's created a lot of smoke. She opened the door to air out some of the smoke when she noticed two firefighters making their way up to her. Apparently, a neighbor had gotten worried and called the fire department. Esty smiled though, and she sold them this whole story of like, "Oh no, I've burned my dinner, but I caught the fire in time. Everything's fine. Nothing's wrong." And the men bought it and they left.
Oh dear.
Okay, I'm
Well
sorry.
done.
Okay, so those of us who I'm not saying those of us who have ever like been around the smell of a burning body. I'm not saying that I've ever set a body on fire and I know what it smell a burning body smells like, but there are some people in the world that do know what that smell is, and I have always heard it's very distinct.
It's
The
terrible.
smell of burning
Burnt
flesh.
Hair.
Oh
It smells
yeah.
like
That has
Oh.
just hair alone has a distinct smell too.
oh yeah.
How would some people from the fire department not go, that's a person?
Maybe the peach schnapps. It smelled like peach. Okay.
Okay, it's the
It's a
people.
carpet. I covered it all up.
Oh Lord.
Ah.
Keisha,
Huh?
we do not want to know why you know what a burning body smells like. We are certain it's not great.
Doesn't Keisha live on a farm?
Yeah,
I'm sure at
does.
some point there's been like burning the like
Animals.
farm
Yeah.
animals or
That's
something.
called a
Okay.
sacrifice.
Yeah.
Flavors of the day: Banana Foster baked Alaska caramelized ex-boyfriend. Thank you, Miles. Out right here.
Hmm.
All right, so not sure what to do next. Esty showered and left to stay with her internet lover again, leaving the shot and burnt body of Holger sitting at the computer. When she returned the next day, the smell of decomposition was overpowering. The smell was so bad that a neighbor knocked on the door asking if Esty was cooking fish. And I've got to wonder, is it the same neighbor that called the fire department? I've been wondering this the whole time. Like, who's the nosy neighbor in this situation? I want to interview them.
You could imagine being in an apartment building. I've been in some, and you just walk through the hallways, and you could smell what everybody's cooking down the hallway.
Gas grill blew up on my cousin. Oh my god. Okay, I'm sorry.
Did we miss a comment?
Aye.
A
Keisha
gas
said,
grill blew up on my cousin.
He just said a gas grill blew up on my cousin. That's ooh,
okay.
Yep.
And that's when I learned what a dead body smells like. A dead burnt body.
that's what the burnt one.
We're not laughing at that, Keisha. I promise we're not.
No. Well,
No.
By the way, what kind of fish smells like? Were you okay? Was I the
Decomp.
only one wondering? I know. What kind of fish smells like a dead body?
I don't know.
I hear
that is a good
jackfruit
question.
stinks to high heaven, but we're a fish.
I don't know. All right, so Esty knew her time was up with the smell, and she had to get rid of the body. Holger was much larger than Esty. He weighed around 280 pounds. Like, as you saw in the pictures before, she's a smaller woman. She knew she would not be able to carry his body down the stairs of the apartment, so she made another plan. Quickly, she made a run to the hardware store, returning with a chainsaw and a few other items to help her in her task. When she returned, she laid out a tarp and began the process of dismembering her ex-husband. Halfway through, she decided to take a break and just left to her internet lover's place again, leaving the shot, burnt, and half dismembered body of Holger sitting by the computer.
This is going from bad to worse. Like, how do you get a power tool? She's just making a, oh God. Ooh.
And of all tools to use, like, have you ever used a chainsaw and on anything wet and it just splatters like everywhere?
Does it with wood, ice, everything. I mean, a chainsaw, it's a messy cut. It is a mess. I've seen it in somebody's leg. It is a messy cut. I've been in there with the ER doctor stitching a leg up where somebody accidentally got hit with a chainsaw. It took a long time. They're like, it just takes a while because it chews up everything. It's so messy.
The doctor's, oh no, it's gonna take. I mean, it chews up. It's fine. Hang on.
Well, I mean, he was right. I mean, I watched him sew it up. It was, it was fine, but it hit the person's leg on the side and it made a gash. But it took him about an hour to sew it down, just to.
Ugh. Oh God.
Because it's, if you cut trees, you'll understand. Like, wood's tricky. It can go through real fast and hit your leg if you're not careful, and that's what happened.
Okay, I'm going to ask something extremely crude, or just make a comment. So basically, halfway through the process of hacking up her ex-boyfriend with a chainsaw, she decided she got horny and went to her new boyfriend's house. Is that what I'm understanding?
There's reports that she just she got grossed out and couldn't continue.
Okay.
But...
Well,
I do
over here. Like, I had to go see my lover. Gross.
No, well, I know
maybe.
it happens. People get excited when they kill people. I mean, look at Richard Ramirez. Richard Ramirez basically stated he could not get aroused unless he was cutting somebody's eyes out. So, yeah. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm sorry, I went too far.
No, you're good. You're good.
I saw that line and I stepped right over it.
So the next day, Esty returned and finished dismembering the body, placing the body parts into bags and freezing them. She spent the next few days, multiple days, cleaning blood off the walls and floors off of everything of her apartment, working on getting the smell of decomposition out with air fresheners. Later in the fall of 2008, when her lease was soon to be up, Esty knew she was going to have to move the body. She pulled out the frozen bits of Holger and placed them into ice cream buckets. Let's see. I lost my place. Love it.
I have another question.
Go for it.
I'm sorry. What air freshener gets out the smell of dead body? I'm just curious.
Whatever one they use to cover the smell of pot, I've got to guess. Just because that
Mm.
stuff strong, and I don't know how they
haven't-
do it, but some people are like, what? You smoke? I would never known. Okay.
I have a dog that farts viciously, so I kind of would like to know.
If
That
anyone out there has used air
Why?
fresheners to cover the smell of a decomposition, can you just let her know which ones you use to cover so she can cover the dog fart smell? That'd be great.
Okay. He's got nasty farts. I can't help it.
I have a dog like that too. I have a mastiff, and he's just terrible.
So you understand my pain.
Clears out like the entire like downstairs or upstairs. It's not
I'm
even
thinking,
a room. It's like room, hallway, next room. Like
I'm thinking if it covers the dead body, it might work on his farts.
Okay, so place Holger in ice cream buckets, pours concrete over the top of him. After the concrete dried, Esty carried them down and walked them to the shop. The rest of the head and torso were like stuck frozen to the bottom of the freezer. So Esty problem solved, pouring concrete over the remains inside the icebox. She called the taxi to help her carry the rest of the buckets and of dismembered ex-husband and concrete to her ice cream shop, telling the driver that she was doing some home renovations. She placed the buckets of Holger in the basement of the parlor. For the freezer, Esty asked some unknowing local workers, having them help her move the concreted freezer from her upstairs apartment to the basement of her shop. After they left, she decorated the area with air fresheners and perfumes to help with the smell. Lovely. Because they had recently moved to Vienna, there was not a lot of people around to make the connection that Holger was missing. Anyone who did notice just kind of seemed happy for Esty, thinking that the divorce had gone well. She was finally moving on with her life. And if any further questions arose, Esty would answer them, letting everyone know that, oh, well, Holger left to join Hare Krishna. Did I say it right? Sect in India. Yay, I did it. Okay. Esty carried on as usual, running her shop for the next 3 years before starting up a relationship with Manfred again. Manfred still seemed not ready to settle down, though, and suggested that Esty see other people while they were together, as he was not ready to date her exclusively. This suggestion seriously bothered Esty, who only wanted to settle down and have children and have a family and all of that. Manfred would also continuously push her into getting cosmetic surgeries, such as a nose job, a facelift, lip injections, as he felt that her lips were too thin. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so she obviously did. Okay.
I don't think she ever did. I think that's just her.
Oh my God, she's gorgeous.
I don't know what Manfred's problem was.
Well,
I don't know what
Manfred's problem. It's like a lot of the men in her life.
I don't know. Well, all her as well. I don't know what all of these people's problems are.
there are guys that are 15 years older than her, and they've already experienced being married and having kids. Like, why don't you date in your age, range, and maybe somebody in that.
Because
Yeah,
it's easier
yeah.
to control people who are much younger than you are a lot of times for older men. And obviously she was more than willing to jump through hoops to become what they wanted, but and she was willing to settle for men who did not meet what she was needing. Okay, so earlier you were discussing the freezer and that the head was frozen.
And torso.
Yeah, and the head and torso. I had a question.
Yes.
Okay, so she sealed the body in the freezer with cement, thinking that was going. No, that's not suspicious. Why would we have a freezer full of cement? I mean, that's not.
I'm
Why
sure
would
she probably didn't tell anyone it was full of cement. I'm sure she was like, I own an ice cream shop and it's a freezer. Help me move things. Because like y'all said, she's gorgeous. So
She's
she
gorgeous.
could walk up.
And some guy's like, oh, I'll help you move it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how many people does it take to move a freezer full of concrete? Like,
I mean,
that seems like it would be excessive. Yeah.
or something. It's heavy, and it takes multiple people to pick up something, even though it doesn't look like a ginormous object. But when you fill that puppy full of concrete, it's gonna weigh heavier than a car.
yeah.
Okay, so another thought is you work in an ice cream parlor. You're used to probably dealing with things that are frozen to the bottom of the freezer or to the bottom of something. The first go-to solution should be hot water.
There's another person who did a podcast on this that I used for some research, and they're the only one I heard say this, but they did mention that apparently once she saw the face of him, she couldn't bring herself to do any more, but that was the only source that I could find that said that.
Chainsaw Sally felt a little guilty about seeing his face.
Maybe. Everyone else I saw was just like, nope, it was frozen to the bottom.
So let's just pour concrete over it.
Yeah.
Concrete. And that doesn't raise any red flags of people thinking like, what the hell is this? Like, that would be the first thing. I'd be like, we need to take some or something.
I'm sorry, that's
to make it lighter to carry, but
I agree with you. That's gonna be a red flag. I'm like, what
that's
is
a red
in
flag.
this
That's a big red
freezer?
flag.
Why does this weigh 4 tons? This is not normal.
Yeah.
Is the body of one of your ex-lovers like concrete in here?
I think you're more comfortable weighing 4 tons because guys know we carry all kinds of stuff when we go on vacation, but
Never the body of an ex-lover, though.
Esty had a feeling that Manfred was cheating on her and eventually did go through his phone, finding naked pictures of other women and a text from another asking, when am I going to see you again? Secretly, Esty had been blaming Manfred for Holger's death, telling herself that if he hadn't talked her into divorcing him, that he would probably still be alive to that day. It didn't help that Manfred had also put a hard no on ever having children with Esty, which was the one thing she wanted more than anything else. That's all she wanted, was to find a husband, settle down, and have children. And he was like, no. And so Esty began to fantasize about killing Manfred. She tried to distract herself with other things such as visiting family and trips, but the idea of killing him kept coming into her head, so much to the point that she bought a new chainsaw, concrete, and attended a concrete mixing workshop at a local hardware store.
Oh no!
She also went and took marksman classes.
Water and concrete together. Jesus.
What was that? I'm sorry, I blanked out.
Workshop for the mixing water and concrete. Like,
apparently it's a thing.
Jesus.
Oh no.
Yeah. She also went and took a marksman class, learning how to shoot more accurately, because doing it right behind someone's head apparently is difficult. Very far away. Aiming's a thing. Late November 2010, Manfred leaves for work after a long night of online surfing. Esty went to the computer, searched his online history, finding proof that he was chatting with other single women on a dating site the entire previous night.
But they were not exclusive, because he actually told...
He said he didn't want to be exclusive, and she said, no, I don't want us to date other people.
Okay.
So he was like
on the same rule book. He was playing his rules, and she was okay.
Yeah. So what infuriated her the most about this whole online dating thing was his description of the ideal woman in his profile. It stated that he wanted a sporty, well-built woman who was into skiing and cycling, all things Esty was completely not. Later, Esty and Manfred went on a date together, walking through the park, visiting a friend who owned a punch stand at the museum quarter. They were drunk together on mulled wine when Esty confronted Manfred about his wandering eyes through their entire date out. After midnight, they arrived home where the argument grew. Manfred stated that he might be a sex addict, but grew angry when Esty told him to either get therapy or they were through. He refused the ultimatum and said that if he was going to get help, he would do it on his own terms, which fair enough, I guess. Not too long after the couple went to bed, Manfred instantly rolling over and falling asleep, snoring at the wall. Esty stared at him, furious. Quietly, she pulled the gun out that she had kept under the mattress, loaded it, and shot him in the back of the head 4 times, leaving his body in the bed next to her.
Did she sleep? Did she go back to sleep?
It never said anywhere. And so, like, the closest I could find to, did she sleep there or did she not? The only thing I could find was she left the body in the bed next to her, which makes me think that she slept
I
next
know
to
that.
him.
Yeah, that's why I said that. I'm like, that seems like she left the body in the bed with her.
Yeah, that's
For a while.
She's seen an execution maybe when she was younger, because that's not,
That's not- yeah.
there is
a
a
lot
whole
of like anger and real just rage, and they don't care if it's in the front, but this is 2 times execution style, so
Yeah.
there's something where she wasn't put together right from the get-go.
there's
Oh,
other
that's interesting. Yeah.
There's other stories of her childhood where, like, because when she was young, her dad and the government didn't get along, and like their house was raided at one point at gunpoint, and they had like guns everywhere that were stomping on her baby dolls, and there's this like whole traumatic thing that happened at that point. But I don't know about seeing anything there. I know that was mentioned.
I'm gonna say yes, she probably did. Just with two murders the same style, I'm gonna go with yes.
Possibly there also is a type of killer that has difficulty looking someone in the eye when they do it. They're usually a more submissive killer, which could also be the case here, or it could be both, which is why she's doing it in the execution style.
Well, Toy Robot actually made a comment earlier that a lot of killers do not like. There's a reason people cover the face of victims, of a victim that they know it's hard to look at them because it's personalized. So shooting somebody in the back of the head without actually looking them in the face might depersonalize it for her.
Maybe. So the next day,
when you take somebody's life, it's kind of personal then. I mean,
you just made it personal.
You just made it personal.
So the next day, she set out to dismembering the body, moving through the task efficiently, having learned from her last dismemberment. After cementing the remains in concrete, she brought them downstairs to the basement of her parlor and left Manfred next to Holger, shortly leaving to get her nails done as she had damaged them in the whole process of the dismemberment in the concrete. You know, my nails, dang it. I need to go get those fixed. But unlike Holger, Manfred's family and friends noticed his absence, and they called Esty endlessly, asking where was he. Due to this, 6 days later, she reported him missing to the police, where she played the part of the confused victim, wondering why didn't he love her enough to stay, or why couldn't he just talk to me about it, and he had to just up and leave the way he did. She played the part so well that Manfred's friend, 47-year-old Roland, stepped in to help cheer her up, taking her out to dinners and spending much time with her. By January, Roland had left his last relationship to pursue one with Esty.
Oh no.
And ended up in a freezer himself.
Bye.
Roland, you're an idiot.
5 months later, in June, after having found out she was pregnant, Roland proposed. The couple's joys were, however, short-lived. June 6, 2011, 9 a.m. Esty arrives at work to find a small crowd outside. Quickly, she asked one of the regulars what is going on and was told that a pipe had burst at the hairdresser's next door. A plumber had gone down to the basement to fix it. The only access to the door to the basement was in Esty's. They had to break down a door and to get to the pipe, and in the process, they had found a handgun just laying out, buckets, small freezers, and flower pots, apparently, of human remains with air fresheners scattered around to mask the smell. And allegedly, the lower part of a leg had been protruding from one of the concrete concoctions. The crowd were already in hot gossip as to the identities of the remains, many of them remembering Esty's tendency to end up with missing men. Esty laughed it off. She made an excuse to leave, heading to her local bank to pull out her savings. Now, this part's a little up in the air. Some people say the same day she found out all of this, she went and started doing this. Some people are like, oh, well, she went home, stayed for a night, and did all this the next day. So there's 2 different versions of this. The main one I found said this was all the same day, though, but that might be incorrect. So please, if you know, put it in the comments. So she went out to get her savings, but she remembered that she had left her savings book back at the cafe. Dang.
Oh.
So after a few moments of deliberation, she called up her cleaning lady and asked her to meet at a nearby bridge, where she asked the woman to go retrieve her savings book. And this lady was like, she knew what was going on. She was just like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. So she left and returned with the item. Esty was having to stand there the whole time like, is she going to turn me in? Is she going to turn me in? She didn't. She brought her the item. This lady's got like some sort of pull over people that I don't think she knows. Or maybe she does know and she just uses it to her advantage.
She could have been bribed with money too. She could have been like, give me my savings book and I'll pay you handsomely.
Well, also considering that these were abusive relationships that she was in, the woman who knew her that went to go get the savings book might have not viewed her so much as the culprit, but more as a victim, and wanted to help her as much as possible.
Also, a lot of places stated that this is kind of her best friend. The cleaning lady was kind of like the closest friend she had at the time. So she goes to the bank. She pulls out 10,000 euro from her savings before realizing that, oh, dang, I left my passport back at my apartment. Luckily, as she was standing there on the street corner, like thinking about all of this, she happened to notice, of all people, Sasha driving by, a regular customer that had spotted her and Manfred that one time, like years ago. There's Sasha again. So she waved him down, hopped into his car, telling him that the police were looking for her, that Manfred had done something, and explained about the passport situation back at her apartment. Wordlessly, he drove Esty to a side road near her home and got out of the car saying, only, if I'm not back in 15 minutes, take the car. Just go.
Sasha's a bit dramatic. Just take the car and go. Okay, Batman.
All of these random meetings with Sasha, I've got to wonder if he had a thing for her and was like stalking her.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So when he returned with her passport, she was relieved until she found out he'd grabbed the wrong one. He'd grabbed her Mexican passport, not her Spanish one, where her family and all that were. Esty begged him to go back in, but he was like, nah, I already been in there once. But he did agree to buy her a prepaid SIM card and drive her to the airport. Once she got to the airport, she wrote a note to Roland containing her new phone number, telling him to come meet her and call her immediately. She placed the note with a taxi driver and then paid the taxi driver to drive it to Roland's place of employment. Esty scanned the outgoing international flights and bought a ticket to Paris. On her way to the boarding gate, though, her phone rang. She answered to find Roland on the other end, while also like turning and seeing him making his way toward her in the crowd at the same time. She told him she was heading to Spain due to her father being terminally ill. Roland was not buying it, though. He didn't believe the sudden story, but he eventually left Esty to do what she needed to do. Esty worried about being at the airport too long, so she taxied to the nearest train station, which I guess good or bad on her, but they were waiting for her at the flight. They were like, the police were waiting for her there, and then suddenly she's just like, you know what, maybe this isn't a great idea. I'm going to go to the train instead. After finding no international trains going out, she called another taxi and requested to be drove 5 hours away to Udine, Italy, telling the driver that she was a dancer and she needed it to be at a show on time. After a short while, the news broke across the radio station in the car of the grisly remains found. Esty admitted to the driver that she was on the run, and the driver responding that is like, all right, well, I'm going to drop you off in the next town, which is Cavazzo. I think that is the way you say it. Somehow, she convinced the driver to book her a hotel room in his name, though, and spent the night there. Well, at breakfast, another random hotel guest was just like, oh, well, I'm going to Udine. Come with me. And so she rode with this other random person who just, everyone wants to help Esty. Everyone wants to help Esty, yes.
Well, there you go.
Was she dressed like that when she was hitching rides? Like, okay.
Yeah, so she wanted to go to Udine, though. It was a larger city. She felt like it'd be easier to hide in. And once she was there, she went to a hairdresser and she had them dye her hair a slightly darker color, which is why, like, later, the hair darker color had started to wash out and starting to look a little bit more red, which is why it looks a little bit more like Kat in the later photos. She had her hair dyed.
Yeah, we're not. No.
I'm sorry. I see it. Maybe I'm wrong.
The complexion that she has. Yeah.
Shortly after her. Sorry, go ahead. Okay, shortly after her arrival, Esty befriended a street musician named Ivan. She told him she was a victim of domestic abuse. She's hiding from her husband. And if she could just, I'll pay you if I can stay with you for a few days. And he's like, okay, cool. So she stayed with him for a day. Unfortunately for Estebliz, or fortunately for everyone else, her obsession with staying updated on the case had kind of tipped off Ivan of the real circumstances of her hiding. And on June 11th, 2011, he tipped off the police. Estebliz Carranza was arrested that day on charges of double murder. On the morning of her arrest, though, Esty actually began bleeding. And in fear of losing her baby, she confessed to everything. Just like, oh yeah, no, I did it. Cool. Medical care now. Medical baby. And so she wanted the medical care, confessed to all of it.
Did she have the baby?
She did have the baby. She was taken back to Vienna, and while in waiting for her trial, she did give birth to a healthy baby boy she named Roland after his father. So we have Roland Sr. now and Roland Jr. And then she married Roland Sr., who was still like, I love you. So, like, Roland was die hard for this woman. Esty's quoted to have said while in prison, had I met Roland earlier, I would have never become a killer. Custody of Roland Jr., however, was not given to Roland Sr., and the state decided, or the country decided to give it to Esty's parents in Barcelona.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm almost done. I've got like a couple more things here. Esty's trial took place in Vienna, November of 2011, lasted 4 days, and had 50 witnesses called. To counter the small, petite politeness Esty seemed to portray, prosecution put together a PowerPoint presentation of the victim's body parts as they were found in the cellar and presented it to the jury during the trial.
A PowerPoint of body parts.
I don't know why that's so funny.
Click, click. And here we have
on our next slide.
Yeah.
Oh
my God.
A PowerPoint presentation of the body parts as they were found. Estebliz Carranza was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. She was also found to be mentally unstable by a psychiatric assessment. 2015, Roland and Esty divorce. I guess just the long distance, they couldn't hack it.
Well, and she's crazy.
I kind of feel for Roland in this. He was so like wanting to be faithful and wanting to help out this person. She's so sad. He just believed everything she said. 2017, Esty was transferred to an all-male prison as the first female prisoner to live there. 2018, Esty announces that her and another inmate have fallen in love.
Aww.
And that is the last thing I could find on Estebliz Carranza, one of the most out there stories of true crime I'd ever heard. So I had to tell y'all this story.
And she's in an all men's prison now?
Yes, she was the first one there. There are 18 war women there, but they're
trying to put women in. Just she was the first.
They're trying to, but it's a slow process. But it's a night, like they get to walk around. It's a free roaming. They get to cook their own meals. They get it's pretty much they're playing house. And now there's women there, and I don't know.
They're still playing house.
I guess.
They're doing other things. They're getting married, apparently.
I don't know how all that works. I think I did read somewhere that once she came out about their relationship, they did move the guy to a different prison. So apparently they're like, well, you can hang out together and you can live together and you can cook together, but no dating. I guess that's the line.
Well, and were they concerned for his safety?
More concerned for her safety, I think. She was moved there, it's rumored, because she was too dangerous to be in the women's prison, but that's a rumor. I don't know how true that is. But apparently this person that she was dating, like he had, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I didn't put it in my notes. I think he had schizophrenia and he had a lot of things wrong, but she said that he brought out the darker side in her that she needed to be able to explore and understand.
It gets darker?
I guess.
Okay. Even most seasoned serial killers do not go to dismembering. their victims. I mean, think about it. Most people just throw their victim and either leave them where they lay, or they
somewhere.
throw
Yeah.
them in a trash bag or a suitcase and put them somewhere. But I mean, it's a special person that will hack somebody into pieces over the course of several days, then take a side trip in the middle of it to go have a rendezvous with their boyfriend because evidently chainsawing a body made them horny. And then
No, my favorite part though is that between the two, she goes and has professional enhancement classes to make it better next time.
Yeah, because I want to be sure that we follow all OSHA regulations when we're putting the body in concrete.
I just want to know what she did to mess up the concrete the first. Like, was it chunky? Did you not mix it well enough? Like, what was wrong with the concrete?
Part of the freezer that made the freezer 8,000 pounds. Like,
certainly works by out concrete.
A freezing unit is going to have water base, so even if you mixed it correctly, which I mean, I understand if you go to the garden shop and you buy a bag of concrete and you mix it, it's still very you have to make sure you follow the exact guidelines. So if you put that into a freezer, which is water based or it's at least liquid based, that's going to jack up the imagine the constitution of the components that make it harden. I'm like, okay.
You said harden. Okay, sorry.
Well, evidently she was wanting some hard.
Yeah. We just had a toy robot comment a second ago that was cracking me up. If we could pull that back up. As long as there wasn't an ice cream shop in prison, he's good. Yeah. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm sure they have freezers.
Probably. I mean, they get to cook their own food.
And honestly, I'd want ice cream in prison personally. I mean, that's probably pretty much the worst day of my life right there. Give me some chocolate ice cream. I'll be okay. Don't care if I'm lactose intolerant. It makes me shit for 3 weeks.
I hope y'all enjoyed the story.
We did. I did.
Very unique.
It was messy. It was messy for sure.
Oh yes.
I'm going to wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning going, I have questions.
Yeah.
Call me. text
I
me.
will. No, I won't call. Yeah. I'm an introvert. I don't call anybody.
We are, I hate to say it, ladies, we're past due.
Yeah, we are. We got the message a little while ago that we were supposed to wrap up. However,
I refused. I kept
no,
going.
we had to hear the end of this. This was incredible.
Story. Yeah.
I just want to know where Roland's at.
Mm-hmm.
Did he
Yeah.
find a
I hope
wife?
he changed his name, changed his identity,
I
living
wanna
with witness protection program somewhere where nobody can identify him.
I want to know who the original boyfriend at 17 years old, the one who was 5 years and he's like, oh no, I'm not ready for anything serious. I want to know who the nosy neighbor was. And was it the same one who like asked, are you cooking fish? Who was like also the one who called the fire department? And I want to know if Roland ended up happily ever after. Those were my 3 takeaways in researching this case.
Roland's dead or at least disturbed. I mean, there's something. I mean, there's no getting around. He was involved with she was a serial killer, basically. I mean, so she's involved with a serial killer who not only killed her victims but hacked them up, and they have a child together. But yeah, so I'm getting the notification it's time to wrap things up.
Close the show. Just close it.
That's a wrap. Okay.
Yeah.
I
love that.
I know. Okay, so this is for another time, but so this was created. I have a horror hostess persona, and this was her clapboard.
Nice.
I know. I love it. We were going to try to give it away, but I decided I wanted to keep it because, random crap.
Yeah.
All right.
And now it's here.
Okay, so here's our audience participation question. Please leave it in the comments, even if you're watching this after the fact. This has been a little different than what we normally do. And this has been a deep dive into a specific case. And I really enjoyed this. If you would like to see more like this, please tell us, because I think this was pretty fun. We've done this before. Kat did a great presentation of Georgia Tan, and I know that we've kind of touched base on several topics where we've had a specific person deep dive and talk about it. So this was a lot of fun, very enjoyable. A little gross, but okay, yeah. No, it wasn't that gross. I was expecting grosser. I was expecting, people are eating ice cream and it's made with Fred. So it's like the blood orange actually has blood in it. All right. So with that said, Pleasant Screams.
Wait for it.
Bye. Wait for
Wait
it.
for it.